Greetings once again. It's good to be back. I've decided to kick off Series 2 or Season 2 of my Forbidden Lands role-playing game. The campaign and the adventures and stuff like that, it's just fun to get into. And I want to pick back up where I left off, where we left the characters last time. And so we'll just keep going and see how this goes. There have been some fun interactions with folks on the YouTubes, and so I want to jump back in and see where our heroes, our characters are at. I guess in Forbidden Lands, they're not heroes. They're described differently. But either way, you get what I mean. So let's catch back up as to where we were. This is my calendar that I keep for the game that I run. And I split the months just by the seasons. It's got 365-ish days, and literally winter wane all the way through winter rise. I just have 8 months in the year. I've seen other folks that use more of a 12-month calendar. I, however, have just decided to stick with the 8. So either way, that's what I've done. And the year currently in our campaign from day one was 1165. Now it's 1166. And I keep up with, important dates that we've done different things and stuff like that on the back of this calendar. And so on the 19th, what I have here, the 19th of Springwane, 1166, the Roka Orc Thukar, the son of Arka, lays siege to Bloodstone, which was our stronghold. And PCs are defeated, Yoren is taken captive, Bloodstone is lost. That was covered in a couple of videos that I did a while back. What fun that was, losing everything we had built. So anyway, this one, my next entry here is 32 Fallwane, 1166. And we had a lot of downtime. And so different folks run campaigns differently. Sometimes they just run day to day. And downtime is something that you can often overlook and miss if you do that. And that's okay. It's fine to go day to day or week to week. I, however, have always been a fan of downtime. So I decided to implement it here. So let's look at Springwane. Let's see, Springwane, there it is, 19th. There's that. So we've got from there to the summer rise, summer wane, fall rise, and then all the way down here, fall wane of 30, or the 30th of fall wane, 31, 32. Right in there is where I'm picking back up. And so that's a long time. That's like 190, 200 plus days that Yoren is in captivity in the Roka Orc encampment. So that's where I'm picking back up. And what did our characters do during this time? I'm going to cover some of that in this video and then set the stage for my next solo play, or potentially with my son and my friends. Maybe we could play it and then I could report it out to you guys and see if we're able to rescue Yoren. Because this is Yoren Telmor. He was the one that was captured during our stronghold defeat when we were defeated. And he has been stuck with them, and I've talked with my son a little bit. This is one of his characters. What does it look like when he's in captivity? What kind of things does he have to do? And so I'll cover that a little bit more when we get to his rescue, because that's what we're setting up to try and get. So what have we been doing for the last 200 some odd days? Well, one thing was we were able to get some masterwork equipment. If you remember Hustab, the half-beard dwarf, master blacksmith, he agreed to craft us some items that are very beneficial for us. So, and of course that takes time. I think the book says it takes 4 times the normal amount of crafting time. So I factored that all in, and we had plenty of time to get all of this done. But Alhun, he's my Wolfkin hunter, he decided to take a Masterwork closed helm, which gives you a defense rating of 5, which is incredibly good. So his defense will be 5 plus the 2 on the leather. That puts him at 7. So the closed helm was a popular item. I went with that for Alhun. I went with that for, I believe, Haraveld, my human Alderlander sorcerer. Yeah, he's got a master. I mean, I love that. Sorcerers wearing armor. That's just so different than what I grew up playing, different role-playing games. But either way, this is a sorcerer here with a Masterwork closed helmet, and he wears chains. So that's 5 rating there, and then his chain is 6 and 3, which is incredible. That's great armor. Ushkala, she is my Isir orc, and she decided to go with a couple of hand axes, both being masterwork. She's going to end up being a dual-wielding axe fighter, which I think I'm just trying that out to see how that works in the game. She's more offense than defense, and I think dual-wielding axes with the axe fighter talent at rank 3 is going to be very, very deadly. So that's what I'm trying with her. So she's got a pair of fantastic hand axes crafted by the one and only Hustab Halfbeard. And then Yosefka, my son's original character, she's the half-elf fighter. She took a Masterwork Great Helmet, which gives you an armor rating of 6, which is just incredible. And she has Rustbite, which is a really good sword that is in one of the early adventures that you can go on in the books. She got that a long time ago, and she carries that. So my son told me, he said, yeah, I think I'm going to go with some defense. I've got good offense. Give me that Masterwork Great Helmet. So he got to pick that. So that's what our characters there chose. We also have 2 others that picked some Masterwork items. Bodlo and Quiche. Bodlo is a dwarf champion, and I think he took... What did he take? He took a Masterwork battle axe because he already had some superior chainmail, which gave him a bump of +1 there. So he took the Masterwork battle axe, which is great. It adds to he's got 6 strength, which is incredible when you add that with melee 3 and then a battle axe that's Masterwork. So he's got a lot of offensive capabilities now, which is good. And then Quiche, Quiche hasn't decided yet. I was talking to my friend just last night, in fact, about Quiche's options, and it's between a hand axe, Masterwork hand axe, or a Masterwork, what would it be? It'd be a closed helm. That's what Hustab could make. So he hasn't decided for Quiche yet, and when he does, I'll make sure to throw another sticky note on his character sheet so I keep it up to date. Either way, all of that took place during that time span, the 200 some odd days between here. Now, granted, we did a couple of other things, so it wouldn't have started on the 19th. That was just a day Yarn was taken. So somewhere in the summer and the beginning of fall, all of that could take place. So that's one thing that's happening during downtime. So what else happens during the downtime? The characters decided to stay in a city or a town called Ember's Shrine. And that is located down here. For our bearings, the Arena Forest is here. And right in the center is where General Arca and the Roka orcs are based out of. They primarily run in the southern regions of the Arena Forest, and that's where the encampment is. And from Ember's Shrine all the way up to here, it's about 11 as the crow flies, 11 hexes or so. But you have to cross a river at some point, and then traveling in Forbidden Lands obviously is always an unknown. And so I have done that, but I'll catch us up to that point here in a little bit. For 200 days, we stayed here. We lived as citizens of Ember's Shrine, and we were working towards our plan to rescue Yoren. Now, the world doesn't just sit still when downtime happens. And so what I decided for the campaign was Zyterra's armies, the Rust Brothers and the Iron Guard, are pushing north from their location. Let me get the map again. Down here in Vond, Alderstone, the old area, that's where they're based out of, right? And so they were pushing north and north by northeast here, heading this direction. A lot of this is area that's heavy in Rust Brothers and Iron Guard. You'll see a lot of traffic in there, which naturally leads them to the orcs north of Grindbone. And you can actually put Grindbone wherever you want on the map. I have just picked here. So either way, they push north into the Arena Forest. Why are they doing that? Well, one, they want to expand. They want to take over this whole area. They want this entire region to be dominated and rid of everyone that is not them, right? So that means all the dwarves, the elves, the half-elves, and eventually orcs and goblins and halflings as well. So they are pushing northeast, and that runs them directly into the orcs, specifically the Roca orcs, because they run down here a lot in the Arena Forest, especially in the southern section. So why is Zyterra's army, the Rust army, why are they doing this? Well, they want subjects. They want orc experiments with a lot of their demon misgrown advantages. What could the orcs provide the Rust brothers, the Iron Guard armies? Because they're not opposed to using all kinds of dark experiments to benefit their own cause, right? They already use Restless Dead as much as they can. So what kind of benefits would orcs have if they were able to capture many or kill many and then raise them as Restless Dead? Either way, they're looking at it to help expand their army and grow more powerful. Well, the orcs, they're very warlike and they're going to fight them tooth and nail, right? And so let me bring out this map. This is where we've all been. This is where our characters have been. Anything that's colored in. Except I got a little carried away with the blue. I didn't realize what I was doing. But either way, all the green is where they've been. I've colored the hexes in. And so they're pushing this direction. So that causes all of these Roca orcs and every other orc, group that's down in the Arena Forest to have to fight against the Rust Brothers, which depletes the population here in the main encampment. I mean, Arca is a great general leader. He's described as a unifying force among the orcs. And so naturally, he's going to lead from the front lines, which would be somewhere down in here. That's what I figured. And that provides, over the summer, this is a heavily battle. This is just a huge battle arena area, right? Between the Iron Guard, the Rust Brothers, and different demon-tainted, misgrown creatures, and the orcs. And that provides the opening for our characters to come from Ember's Shrine here to here and potentially free Yaren. So that's what we decided to do. And we would, over the 200 days of downtime, our characters will obviously have to find ways to stay alive, make money, have food, that sort of thing. I kind of just breeze over that. I don't take off any supplies, and I don't add any over downtime. I'd be interested to hear other thoughts on how to run downtime in Forbidden Lands as well as other games. How do you do it? How nitpicky do you get with all the details? Either way, I kind of like to just keep it simple. I don't try to zoom in all the time. I zoom way out and say, okay, for the next month, they do these things. And one of the things that we decided to do was capture some orcs. One in particular. We just wanted one. So I didn't even play that out. I was just kind of rolling with it, saying, well, our next adventure is going to be us breaking Yaren out of the encampment. So yeah, our characters have fought orcs many times. Let's just say we've got one. And so literally I've done that. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, I do. It's not that big a deal. But either way, that's something that we did in downtime. So we were not able to do skills or other things like that because you pick one good thing that can happen over 200 days or so. And that's what I went with. Just kind of zoomed out for it and made it happen. So we have in our possession an orc prisoner. Now, the reason we've got the orc prisoner was because Haraveld plans to cast Bind Soul and take over this particular Roca orc's body and use it to infiltrate along with Ushkala. Use these two orcs to infiltrate and potentially free Yaren. That's the heist. That's the adventure that we're setting up for. So all that has taken place. Now, I didn't breeze over casting Bind Soul for the first time because that's potentially dangerous. When you cast spells, you need to roll mishaps. And so I cast it once and I rolled for that even during the downtime. I didn't want to say, well, I got that for free because that's a little much for me. And so I did do that and was able to cast the spell as well as write it in my character's grimoire, which is it's a lore roll actually to make sure that you can do that. Well, and I did. I was able to get that spell Bind Soul in my grimoire, so that means I can at least lower the rank and potentially cast it safer. And so yeah, I was able to do that. And we've got a subject to put Heraveld's soul into. Now, bind soul, it's only a paragraph about that long in the book, right? So I looked in other places within Forbidden Lands books as to how it was used. And without getting into spoilers, Raven's Purge has an adventure setting where someone uses bind soul similarly to the way they use the clone spell in old Dungeons and Dragons, right? And so I was like, well, if he can do it there, then we can do it here. And then there's also a couple of magic items, or no, they're not magic items. They're actually just rather peculiar items that are found in one of the encounters in the Game Master's Guide that says like a person has 2 or 3 vials and that has smoky liquid contained within. And if you hold it up to your ear, you can hear whispers, potentially like someone's in there whispering. And it goes on to describe those as souls that are captured by the Bind Soul spell. So I'm like, okay, so we now have some details on how Bind Soul works and how the designers intended it to work. So that's what I did. Our characters obtained a glass vial, some kind of container. The orc's soul is in the glass vial. That's one casting of the spell. And I had to cast it at power level 3 because that sets the time frame to as long as you want. So power level 1 is a quarter day, power level 2 is a full day, and power level 3 is indefinite until you dispel it or until you end it, however you have it set up to end. I think that's right. So I had to cast it once to get the orc into the vial, and then once to get Heraveld's soul into the body of the orc, right? So now Heraveld is in the orc, and I actually mishapped right there. He was blind for a day. I rolled, I think it was 51 on the mishap. So I got a mishap on that. So we had to wait around a full 24 hours before we could do anything because Heraveld in the orc's body is blind. So, but after that we were good, and then we traveled. So my question was then, what happens to Heraveld's body? And it's described a little bit as you're kind of in a comatose state. So you're just in a coma sitting there, and it's indefinite. The casting time, or the duration of the spell, rather, it's indefinite. But if Heraveld wants to come back and be in his human body, there's got to be something to come back to, right? So he's in a coma. He's got to be fed. He's got to be taken care of. He's got to have water because he'll dehydrate. If he just is left alone. So how does that work? That's not necessarily in the book. That's just me trying to figure out how this would work and then make it fantasy/realistic, right? So I decided that Bodlo and Quiche were going to care for the comatose body of Heraveld while we're undertaking this heist. And that's not forever, because eventually, they can't hook him up to an IV, not in Forbidden Lands, right? So they've got to figure out a way to keep liquids down him, keep food down him, keep him alive in a coma until Heraveld comes back. Okay, so that's where Bodlo and Quiche are. They are not part of the heist, the adventure that leads us north and west over here towards General Arca's camp, which is not very populated at the moment. Most of the soldiers are down in here along the front line against the Rust Brothers. Okay, so Ember Shrine here, we've got to travel all the way up this way, and I did do that. I played that out solo. I won't necessarily go over all of it. We ended up having one encounter with griffins, and we were able to. That cost us a little bit of time. It says you can go back the way you came, and they leave you alone. Well, we did that. And so we did not have any other combat types of encounters while we were heading towards the camp. Now, so that leaves us with 4 individuals in the area of those orcs. Yusefka, Ushkala, Heraveld, and Alhun. And Yusefka and Alhun are holding our horses outside, hidden, trying to stay off the radar. We don't want the orcs to find them. While Heraveld, as a big, brutish orc soldier, and Ushkala, acting as another. This is the second time she's done this, so I'm seeing how far this well will take us. I don't know if I'm overplaying it here, but she's dressed up again as a Viraga, and we roll into this camp, and that's where the heist begins. That's where we'll kick off our next solo encounter, our next solo adventure. Whether it's solo or not, I'm not sure yet. Maybe my son will jump online and we can play it together, because he's got Yaren that needs to be freed. And what's the status of Yaren? Who has he been stuck with? How has it been going for these 200 plus days that he's been in captivity? What's he been doing? And so that's where we'll pick up next time. I'm really looking forward to it. There were a couple of rumors that I wanted to throw into the game that will come through Yaren, based out of the Bloodmarch book. I really enjoyed reading through this and picking up on it. Obviously, it's set to the lands west in Asleen, which, let's see if I can get it here. In the back of the Bloodmarch book, there is a map of the world. Now, not quite fully the world, but, I mean, if you look at this, this is Ravenland right here, right? This is the Bitter Reach. Here's Asleen. But it's got all of this other info that just up until this point hasn't really been released. And so I love it. I immediately took a picture of it out of the back of the book, printed that picture off on ledger-sized paper, and then immediately went to drawing a full-sized pic of the known world up to this point. And I love it. So would there be rumors about Asleen at this point? Because in our campaign, we haven't gotten to that point yet. Bloodmarch was created after you could complete Raven's Purge. And so now it's all coming in at the same time for this campaign. So how do those pieces of the puzzle start showing up in the world? How do we get to start using it? That kind of thing. So that's what I'm thinking. It's a lot of fun. I may post that picture. I may share it, or not the picture, but the drawing of the map. I'll get it digitally and put a link for it in my shared Google Drive. And I'm really looking forward to jumping back into Forbidden Lands. I miss this game. I love this game. It's so much fun, and it is such a refreshing change of pace. And we'll just see where this story goes. Right now, our characters Haraveld and Ushkala have entered into the Roka clan orc encampment to find it almost undefended. Now, they would not be completely undefended, but there's plenty of people here to cause problems. And what does General Arca's wife have to do with the characters? How has Yaren been faring as a prisoner for the last half year or more than a half a year? That's what we'll cover on the next one. And yeah, so let me know what you think. Tell me what kind of things you guys do on Downtime, and does it happen much in your campaign? And do you enjoy Downtime? Do you hate Downtime? And is there some suggestions or ideas on things I might do better for the Downtime that I've got up to this point in the game? I mean, did I do too much in your opinion? Did I not do enough? Either way, let me know. I enjoy engaging with you guys and interacting with other fans of this fantastic game and this fantastic hobby. And yeah, enjoy, and I'll catch you on the next one.